hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land, glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, where pines and maples grow, great prairies spread, and lordly rivers flow. How dear to us thy broad domain, from east to western sea. Thou land of hope for all who toil, thou true north, strong and free. God keep our land, glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, beneath thy shining skies, make stalwart sons and gentle maidens rise, to keep me steadfast through the years, from east to western sea. Our own beloved native land, our true north, strong and free. God keep our land, glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Ruler supreme, who hearest humble prayer, hold our dominion within thy loving care. Help us to find, O God, in thee, a lasting rich reward. As waiting for the better day, we ever stand on guard. God keep our land, glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for
Message to the people of Canada. Canada is a constitutional monarchy, whether you like it or not. In the Constitution, there is a sovereign along with dedicated people who are there to see that the government does its job, which is governing the country while respecting the people and the Constitution. The departure of Queen Elizabeth II was enacted in 1985. The post was vacant, and the new ruler is Denis I, King of Canada de jure, which means who swears to the Constitution. An act of union was signed by a representative from each province in June 2019 at Falcon Lake, Manitoba, unifying the Canada. It has now been a few years since we have informed you about the Constitution of Canada, which is not respected by those who govern the country. We are telling you the truth. We have given you the evidence, but you seem not to believe us or listen to us. What we have done to date follows what is written in the Constitution. First, you must print the constitutional laws 1867 1982 and read them. You will see that different articles of law are disobeyed, modified, or quite simply ignored, such as Articles 71, 52, 32, and 2. All supporting evidence is contained on the SRPC, Royal Public Society of Canada website. The current leaders do not listen to or do not respect the Constitution, nor the people, nor the People Judgment of Canada of 2015 via its grand jury. This judgment is valid, legal, legitimate, constitutional, and must be executed. You must know that you not only have the power to make the difference, but above all, you have the obligation to demand the respect of your government, such as a Canadian people. If we compare the state to a ship, we can say that in a democratic system, the government is elected by the passengers to take charge of it. He must stay the course, ensure the prosperity of the trip, and expect, if it fails, to be thrown overboard. So it's up to you to decide. You don't have to submit to the orders of a de facto government. Position of lieutenant governor, senators, and honest people who are tired of being lied to by the government. All of these positions are available if you have the courage and the will, and if you stop being afraid. Because a small group of committed and serious people can change the world, there is no doubt about it. Truth be told, it's never been done otherwise. Thank you. I will be yielding the floor to Sébastien Théodore for the official lecture of the royal statement.
So, welcome to my channel once again. I will be reading the Royal Proclamation of 2021 on behalf of Sébastien Théodore, which is the chief of the Canada United Royal Guard, because for a very simple reason, my English accent is better than his, even though it's still bad. So, without any further delay about reading this, because we're in for a ride, we'll jump into that, but not before I tell you that the situation of the country is catastrophic right now. As days go on, the power the bees and the other assholes are taking more of your freedom and well, I hate to say it, but more of your rights, even though those who have been following this channel know exactly what I think about right. So let me reduce my face to not much and maybe probably take it off from time to time. I'll be reading this. So hang tight. We'll rock the boat here. The thing is, this reading is for the people. A whole lot of good news. We're attempting to take it back from the assholes and bastard and idiot and other crooks, and it's kicking the ass for those I just stated, I just named. So yeah, please hang tight. So Canada, 18th day of September of the year of grace 2021, 5th year of the reign of His Majesty Denis I. Urgent communication for immediate release to the people of Canada. The national degradation of our Constitution is critical. Social organization, institution, resources, small businesses, and especially the people are all affected by the legislation, status, act, which serve to erode the concept of responsible government and move us toward a global agenda which is engineered by an elected international bodies. Without swift and honorable action, our way of life will very soon become desperate, if not catastrophic. The generation is well established and will eat away at everything and everyone. The people can no longer remain inactive in the face of the many prohibited acts in Canada. The allegations include ignorance of the law, crime against humanity, provocation, intimidation, sabotage, corruption, fraud, breach of trust, disobedience to law, manufacturing of evidence, obstruction of justice, criminal negligence, voluntary homicide, to hasten death, failure to prevent saving a life, criminal harassment, uttering threat, failure to retain document or destruction of document, hostage taking, promoting hate agenda, inciting public to hatred, extortion, threat and reprisal, conspiracy, and others, many others. Various serious crimes have been and continue to be committed. This situation should no longer be tolerated. The more time that passes, the greater the damage will be. It is the duty of the people to take action now. Understand one thing: government as you know it is not the real government. In Article 71 of the Constitutional Law of 1867-1982, it is written, Legislature of Quebec. There will be for Quebec a legislature composed of the Lieutenant Governor and two chambers, called the Legislative Council of Quebec and the Legislative Assembly from Quebec. However, there has been no Legislative Council in Quebec since 1968. The government of Quebec had no right to modify anything in the Constitution of Canada without making a request to Westminster through the Government of Canada. This was not done. You have been kept in the dark. The ruler didn't brag about it, didn't tell anyone, and gave themselves full power. No longer having anyone to check the law to protect us and prevent abuse. Since 1968, following the coup, the government, both provincial and federal, has been operating illegally without any legal basis, which does not in fact confer any power on it. The government has been illegal, illegitimate, and unconstitutional for over 50 years, and it is the time that the people of Canada stop suffering the consequences. How can new law be considered legal when the entity that brings the law forward is, by its structure, illegal, illegitimate, and unconstitutional? How can you actually abide by a corporation, a registered private company that pretend to be a government, that makes law and impose them on us? There has, in fact, been no government for the country since 1968 at least. We don't have to respect them. They, the private company, which pass themselves off as government, both at the higher, federal, and lower, provincial or municipality level, on the other hand, must respect Article 52, 32, and 2 of the Canadian Charters of Rights and Freedom, which reads as follows. Article 52-1. The Constitution of Canada is the supreme law of Canada, and any law that is inconsistent with the provision of the Constitution is, to the extent of the inconsistency, of no force or effect. Article 32-1. This charter applies to a. To the Parliament and Government of Canada in respect of all matter within the authority of Parliament, including all matter related to the Yukon Territory and Northwest Territory, and b. To the legislature and government of each province in respect of all matter within the authority of the legislature in each province. Article 2. Everyone has the following fundamental freedom. A. Freedom of conscience and religion. B. Freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression, including the freedom of the press and other media of communication. C. Freedom of peaceful assembly. And D. Freedom of association. This charter applies to the government and not to the people. They do not have the power to impose anything on the people of the country. It is time to put an end to the corporate coup d'etat perpetrated in Canada. Now is the time to do what needs to be done. A society is a group of people brought together by mutual consent. Therefore, if you do not agree with its management, or if you are fed up with injustice and corruption, you can react to it. Here, we have a way out, an opportunity to seize, and you can no longer ignore the situation. Either you do nothing, which would mean becoming complicit of all the act mentioned above, or you act to redress the situation. The solution? Rebuild our government. You cannot effectively modify a structure that is so corrupted. You have to get involved. Cut the rope that connects the puppet to the puppeteers, because yes, they control us, but they too are control. They have orders, instruction to follow, a map. This play must end now, and it is not by replacing the actor that it will stop. We have to make them understand that it is over. We must regain our independence, our sovereignty. Rebuild, yes, but according to the real rule of the game, the Constitution of 1867, the shield and the sword of the people. Remake a de jure government by law, legal, legitimate, and constitutional, and not a de facto government like the one that think it is the government now, that ignore us, censor us, force us to respect their totally illegal rule, laws, and decrees. All this waste of public funds must stop. The capitalization and destruction of our national resources, or natural resource, by private company must stop. Our commonwealth, our forest, our body of water, our lands, foundation of the country lose billions every day. This belongs to us, the people of Canada. Courage, truth, justice, three virtues unfortunately forgotten by the great majority but are nevertheless essential. Especially now when our rights are violated, our freedom ignored. Let's show them that we no longer walk by their rule. Let's take back our freedom, which they never had the right to take away from us. In the name of Denis I, King of de jure Canada. Because yes, you have a king, right here in Canada since 2017. But that's another story. If you'd like to learn more, you can always look at the Royal Public Society of Canada website at www.societyrpc.com. The SRPC exists precisely to inform the people in order to rebuild a government legally according to the constitutional law of 1867-1982. The more of us who knows the truth, the more impact we will have, and the more they will lose their control, which they only have because we let them control us. Let's leave this corrupt system and create a new playing field through freedom of association. A Royal Proclamation in the name of the Sovereign, His Majesty in Right of Canada, King of Canada de jure. From the office of the King of Canada de jure, from the office of the Governor General of Canada de jure, from the office of the Unified Royal Guard of Canada de jure, from the office of the Solicitor General of Canada de jure, from the office of the Lieutenant Governor of Alberta de jure, from the office of the Lieutenant Governor of Quebec de jure. Royal Proclamation, a message from Denis I, King of Canada de jure. By extraordinary remedy under emergency measure, assistance to person in danger under the law of the Good Samaritan. In the name of the people of Canada, for peace, for order, and good government, for the illegality of contrary things. By the present power which are conferred according to the Supreme Law of Canada, by the Constitution of Canada, on the Sovereign of Canada, King Denis I abolishes the personal income tax to each one who present himself voluntarily to the SRPC for peace, for order and good government, but also decrees that those who choose to no longer support the false government are also affected by this abolition. Those who will do nothing or choose to continue participating in the criminal regime are not subject to this abolition. by the power which are confirmed according to the supreme law of Canada by the Constitution of Canada on the Sovereign of Canada, King Denis I abolishes all the associations of lawyers across the country, as well as all the court and tribunal held before member or ex-member of such association of lawyers, which have no jurisdiction in the country or over people, with the exception of common law court and held before a jury of peers. Also, all the appointment of false magistrates are also repealed. By this, and the power which are conferred under supreme law by the Constitution of Canada on the Sovereign of Canada, King Denis I orders the review of all trials held since 1968, except in the case of homicides of all kinds, or those trial before a jury in common law. The penalty in review are appealed in public utility service by the Ministry of Justice of Canada alone. By the power which are conferred by supreme law of Canada, by the Constitution of Canada on the Sovereign of Canada, King Denis I establishes a tax on natural resources of 100% on all things exploited on public lands, including natural resources such as, but not limited to, water, oil, mining, forestry, etc. The amount of the tax will equal the value of the exploitation by any company or private enterprise. The said tax cannot be transferred in any way to the people of Canada and must be assumed by the company from its profits. By the power which are confirmed by the Supreme Law of Canada, by the Constitution of Canada on the Sovereign of Canada, King Denis I abrogates all commercial license or exploitation permit on natural resources exploited on public land, including but not limited to water resource granted by the de facto government on behalf of the people. By the power which are confirmed by Supreme Law of Canada, by the Constitution of Canada on the Sovereign of Canada, King Denis I ordered the full and immediate application of the judgment of the Tribunal de Grande Instance of the Grand Jury of the People of Canada, held in Cowansville, Province of Quebec, in 2015, and the subsequent default judgment obtained in the Supreme Court of Canada. By the power which are confer under Supreme Law of Canada by the Constitution of Canada on the Sovereign of Canada, King Denis I ordered the full and immediate application relating to the royal right claim, including the Royal Proclamation and the right to rule, published in 2017. By the present and the power which are confirmed by Supreme Law by the Constitution of Canada on the Sovereign of Canada, King Denis I invalidates all election without distinction held after 1968. By the present and the power which are conferred according to the Supreme Law by the Constitution of Canada 1867 on the Sovereign of Canada, King Denis I dismisses the responsibility of Canada of any and all claim based on any right by any of the members having voluntarily participated in the conspiracy against the nation since 1968, as well as claim from all corporation or private company, except in the case related to national defense, veterans, and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. In the name of Denis I, King of Canada de jure. I, Denis I, occupy the post of Sovereign, His Majesty in right of Canada, King of Canada de jure, voluntarily and without remuneration. I, Angèle Prince, occupy the post of Governor General of Canada de jure, voluntarily and without remuneration. I, Sébastien Théodore, occupy the post of Head of the Unified Royal Guard of Canada de jure, voluntarily and without remuneration. I, Paul Leblond, hold the position of Solicitor General of Canada de jure, voluntarily and without remuneration. I, Richard Vincent, occupy the post of Lieutenant Governor of Quebec de jure, voluntarily and without remuneration. I, Maureen Weir, serve as de jure Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, voluntarily and without pay. All those who wish to occupy a position appointed or elected according to the Constitution of Canada within the government of His Majesty de jure, here is where you must send your application. Attention, Sébastien Théodore, P.O. Box 550 467, succursale Vieux-Longueuil, Longueuil, Canada, J4H0A2. Public distribution and publication. This proclamation in its entirety will be published as a special edition containing no other part not included herein, nor any modification, without charge of any kind, by the Canada Gazette. Any ignorance of publication on the part of the publisher of the Canada Gazette will be recognized as treason, sabotage, and rebellion, and punished as such. Any ignorance or omission of publication will also be deemed to have been duly published, fully valid, and in force for execution. Royal Prerogative. It is the duty and open to His Majesty in right of Canada de jure, Sovereign of Canada, King of Canada, to ensure peace, good government, and the well-being of the people of Canada. This Royal Proclamation does not constitute a law within the meaning of law, but a framework of law which will need to be refined by the de jure duly elected government of His Majesty at the level to which the measures contained therein are to apply. The newly refined framework, or writing of new law, will have to be complete as soon as possible following the publication of the actual Royal Proclamation. This excludes any intervention of any form in the said process of refinement or writing of new law by jurists of any kind. The law of Canada are to be made by the people of Canada through the duly elected de jure government as described under the condition below. The invalidation of any law or false law or any form of decree passed which has not legally, legitimately, or constitutionally received approval or royal assent need not be made in the form of new law. They can and are therefore repealed by this Royal Proclamation as having no legal basis. For any measure needing further refinement or writing of new law, only His Majesty Government de jure may draft, if necessary, a law formally establishing the measure at the appropriate legislative level concerned by the said new law. This automatically excludes measure or decision concerning common law or criminal matter which have already been subject of a judgment in due form. People Protection Measure. Any modification of the constitutional text of 1867 is abolished or repealed, as well as any law or text resulting from the said modification. Such modification being by their nature illegal, illegitimate, and unconstitutional. Only the original unmodified text is valid, and of which it is published in the English language. In addition, any text added to the original document modifying it in any way is invalid and therefore also abolished or repealed. Text adding to the original document not modifying it will be revised as soon as possible. They may be retained or rejected, as the case may be, by the elected de jure government of His Majesty of Canada. Any text resulting from an amendment is also considered an amendment to the original constitutional text, is also repealed, abolished, and considered invalid. Immediately reinstated according to the appropriate article contained in the Constitution of Canada is the legislature of the province of Quebec, with the Legislative Assembly and the Legislative Council, as well as the power of the Lieutenant Governor of the said province of Canada linked to these organizations. The National Assembly is dissolved without any other form on ground of illegality, illegitimacy, and unconstitutionality. Any benefits, pension, title, or other benefits of any kind granted or paid to a present or past member of the said assembly is immediately revoked without recourse. Any complaint from employee present or past at the said National Assembly convicted as a criminal organization has no validity and will be ignored in its entirety. The offender placed in a state of immediate arrest and found guilty of treason as well as conspiracy to treason. The personal income tax law, federal as well as provincial or territorial, according to its respective local denomination, is abolished on the ground of illegality, illegitimacy, and unconstitutionality. Any constitutional law regarding the appropriation of public revenue respected and contained under the British North America Act or Constitution of 1867 is upheld. No reimbursement for the date preceding this Royal Proclamation will be made. Any claim for loss of individuals or groups will be treated as an abuse of the public good. Claimant will be immediately arrested and convicted of public order offense as well as fraud with aggravating circumstances. Not included in this measure is the maintenance of the law applicable to the income tax of company, corporation, or enterprise. All form of privatization of public company of any kind are abolished, including, but not limited to, Canada Post, Radio-Canada, and the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, Air Canada, Petro-Canada, the Canadian Wheat Board, including all food production, Canadian National Railway, any ferry, any company producing electricity, the Royal Mint of Canada, the Canada Revenue Agency, as well as the Bank of Canada. This, including any other company or corporation of national public interest, such as school, hospital at the federal, provincial, territorial, or municipal level as the case may be. The employees of this society or corporation are public, federal, provincial, municipal, or territorial employee by nature. Any cost incurred for the recovery of public company in order to restore them to their original nature or situation is the responsibility of the beneficiary of the said privatization, because this action was illegal, illegitimate, and unconstitutional. No compensation will be paid in any form to interest or group for the re-establishment of said company or public corporation. No recourse is possible for these interest group. Any claim of loss of individuals or group will be treated as an abuse of public good. The claimant will be immediately placed under arrest, thus found guilty of breach of public order, also for fraud with aggravating circumstances. All form of privatization of public infrastructure illegal, such as but not limited to bridge, road, building, land, or public park, are abolished, repealed, and revoked, including any infrastructure of national interest but not limited to the Confederation Bridge connecting the province of Prince Edward Island, Highway 401 in whole or in parts of Highway 1, as well as the resources which serve the said infrastructure, as well as the associated personnel. The employee of these infrastructure are public, federal, provincial, municipal, or territorial employees by nature. Any cost incurred for the recovery of public infrastructure in order to restore them to their original nature or situation is the responsibility of the beneficiary of the said privatization, because this action was illegal, illegitimate, and unconstitutional. No compensation will be paid in any form to interest or group for the re-establishment of the said public infrastructures. No recourse is possible for these interest groups. Any claim of loss of individual or group will be treated as an abuse of public good. The claimant will be immediately placed under arrest, thus found guilty of breach of public order, also for fraud with aggravating circumstances. Any sea route, land route, rail route, or air route, if applicable, where no other form of transport connects two parts of Canada, of passenger connecting one part to another of Canada, will be free, in the event that a public company ensure the regular service for the inhabitant of people of Canada having their first or principal and permanent residence included, understood in 1 or the other of the extremities, or in any intermediate place of the said road. This measure does not include the transport of good, mail, or other form of good or services, nor does it include occasional visitor, tourist, vacationer, and foreigner to the said route. No compensation will be paid in any form to interest or group to compensate for any loss of profit or sale in any form. No recourse is possible for these interest group. Any claim of loss of individual or group will be treated as an abuse of public good. Claimant will be immediately arrested, thus found guilty of breach of public order, also for fraud with aggravating circumstance, as well as no form of obstacle to the free movement of the people of Canada of any nature or for any reason whatsoever may be put in place to limit or obstruct movement from one region to another on the territory of Canada. Any attempt to limit movement within the territory of Canada by individuals or group will be treated as having committed an action contrary to public order and good government. Those in violation will be immediately placed under arrest, thus found guilty for breach of public order, also for fraud with aggravating circumstances. The issuance of driving license or the suspension thereof for reason of traffic violation thereof is not included in this measure, does not constitute a form of hindrance, as well as driving license for vehicle in all form or name currently issued in a manner not coordinated by the provinces of Canada are revoked in the current form. Subject to and as soon as a national measure may be implemented of driver's license issuance similar to the current form and condition, but common and identical to all part of Canada. This shall include the Canada endorsement on each license issued. Each province having lost the right or the responsibility to issue its own driving license will therefore have to withdraw its name from the said license, which will be henceforth be issued by Canada. The licenses class will have to be unified and similar for all parts of Canada. The same measure will apply to the issuance of license plate, which will be replaced by a pan-Canadian identification. The same measure will apply to the replacement of the various public insurance scheme for vehicle issued by the province. The regime must be common to the entire country. It is nowhere mentioned in the Constitution of Canada that the issuance of driving license, or the management in whole or in part of the Highway Code will be a prerogative of provincial law. On the contrary, any residual power not mentioned in Article 90, 91, 92 of the Constitution of Canada belong as of right to His Majesty Federal de jure government by definition. Said license will be issued to qualified driver, either to all those who currently hold a valid provincial license without any other form of verification at the cost, provincial equivalent, the lowest in Canada at the present, or in the amount of $15 for 5 years. This which cover the price of production, distribution of the said permit. The preceding measure does not apply to corporation, enterprise, or any other commercial form. A price for each different commercial class will be applied in commercial matter. Such measure must be established by the government de jure of His Majesty in due time. No claim or compensation of any form, of any nature, by any group or individual whatsoever will be heard or honored for any loss without distinction arising from such a measure, as well as concerning the withdrawal of this presently provincial responsibility, as well as Road Safety Enforcement Officer will be tasked by the federal government as an employee of the latter with duty of ensuring the compliances of vehicle, driving, or transport license, as well as the application of the said road safety or other related regulation. In all cases, police force that have lost all law enforcement prerogative as described in this Royal Proclamation in the appropriate paragraph will not be part of road safety enforcement. The said road safety enforcement officer do not have and will not have the power of arrest, detention in any form for any reason in the future, nor the power of law enforcement or regulation of any kind apart from that of their road safety enforcement task, including the power to intercept offender against the road safety code and what follows from it. They are not police officer, peace officer, or law enforcement officer outside of their road safety jurisdiction, but will have the power to intercept vehicle, issue ticket or citation where appropriate for any matter aimed at withdrawing from circulation any individual or vehicle obstructing or contravening good traffic for any valid and demonstrable reason. If a common law crime is observed in the context of road safety, it will be the duty of the police to provide assistance to the said road safety officer. The non-legitimate public debt taken out with private organization as well as the interest on the debt in any form of Canada as a whole is zero. The debt will not be honored by the people of Canada under the government of His Majesty in right from Canada. The said debt belongs to those who have contracted it, but in no way to the people as a whole or one or the other of its parts. Any claim for loss of individual or group will be treated as an abuse of public good. Claimant will be immediately arrested and convicted of public order offense as well as fraud with aggravating circumstances. Any public debt in the form of treasury bill or subscribed with the Bank of Canada is maintained, recognized, and will be honored in the event that the said treasury bill are issued to the people of Canada and only in this case. No corporate voucher will be recognized or refunded. Private debt is maintained, subscribed by some private party subject to contract concluded. This is subject to the previous paragraph and the following. Any claim for loss of individual or group will be treated as an abuse of public or private property. Claimant will be immediately arrested and convicted of public order offense as well as fraud with aggravating circumstances, excluding the following. Interest on debt is henceforth prohibited in any form except in the case of fixed management fees and concluded by contract. All private debt is entered into at the current amount as the date hereof. No feedback removing of interest is effected by this abolition. Any claim for loss or individual or group will be treated as an abuse of the public good as well as a disturbance of public order, peace, and good government. Claimant will be immediately placed under arrest and convicted of breach of the law, public order, as well as for fraud with aggravating circumstances. The public land of Canada, or Crown land, or by any other name or description whatsoever, belong to the people of Canada, not to corporation or enterprise or to the government. Any commercial exploitation of said land or property is henceforth prohibited, including logging, immediately and for a period of 20 years, renewable subsequent to the date of this Royal Proclamation. Any commercial license to operate public land is immediately revoked without recourse under penalty of abuse of public property or other breach of public orders. Any corporate claim for damage or loss of earning will be treated as a crime against humanity and sentenced immediately with penalty and aggravating circumstances. An exemption apply in the case of energy production that already exists, which automatically exclude mining, including uranium ore, but includes hydroelectric production as well as, to a limited extent, the production of hydrocarbon to ensure a transition to another mode of energy production. An exemption also apply in the case of a single individual for his family under his full responsibility in a responsible manner. An exemption also apply in the case of a limited national production for the construction or the maintenance of an existing structure ensuring the good of the people or national defense, as well as regarding the previous paragraph, any mining production or precious ore such as gold, silver, or any metal in the same category belong to the people of Canada. In the event that this production is authorized, any extract will be immediately returned to the vault of the Bank of Canada on behalf of the people of Canada. It will be authorized through the Royal Mint of Canada the sale to the people of Canada of the necessary coin up to a maximum of 50% of the total production. An exemption apply to the case of a single individual or for his family under his full responsibility in a responsible manner, as well as an exemption apply in the case of a limited national production ensuring the good of the people or the national defense, as well as any road or forest path must immediately be destroyed or removed, returning the forest soil as close as possible to its original state unless absolutely necessary for any valuable reason outside the context of logging, vacationing, or tourism concerning the said path or road. Also, a very intensive program to restore the forest as close as possible to its original state will be immediately undertaken in order to preserve the job previously linked to the exploitation of forest resources before the destruction of forest road. The cost of such program will be submitted to corporation or company on their profit, their saving, or following the forced sale of their asset, having exploited the resource without paying the amount owed to the people of Canada, as well as a very limited exploitation of the forest resource will be maintained, deemed absolutely necessary to ensure the production of good necessary for good government, to maintain public or private infrastructure for the production intended solely for the population of the people of Canada. No export outside the border of Canada, directly or out of processed material from forest resource, is presently authorized, including products such as maple syrup but not limited, or other production from the forest of Canada. The Bank of Canada is a public company owned, like all public property, of the population in its entirety, and given in trust, in power of attorney, to the management of the good government de jure of His Majesty in right from Canada. The Bank of Canada must and will have to play the public role for which it has been set up, namely to provide interest-free credit to the various level of government de jure for His Majesty, as described in the original Bank of Canada Act, without subsequent illegal, illegitimate, and unconstitutional changes. It is and will be prohibited for any public body of any level, without distinction, to subscribe to any credit whatsoever other than the issuance of public treasury bill or credit to the Bank of Canada. Any claim by private commercial organization of any kind for any loss or damage whatsoever will be treated such as public abuse of public property, as well as fraud with aggravating circumstances, offender placed immediately under arrest, sentence, and punished as such. The ports of import or export of good or international passenger are public property. Also, a strategic place of the utmost importance for the well-being of the people of Canada. The employees of any kind serving the said place are public employees, including the security, the management, the maintenance of said place, excluding employees of private transport company responsible for maintaining or loading, including passenger, vehicle belonging to the said company and properly authorized under license by the government de jure of His Majesty in right of Canada. Any past form of privatization or private management is immediately revoked without any recourse for any form of business, group, or private corporation. Any claim for loss of any form of individual or organization will be treated as an abuse of public property as well as other common law crime. Offender will be immediately placed under arrest, sentence, and punished as such. Airport, importing or exporting good or international passenger are public property, also a strategic place of the utmost importance for the well-being of the people of Canada. The employee of any kind serving the said place are public employees, including the security, the management, the maintenance of said place, excluding an employee of private transport company responsible for maintaining or loading, including passenger, vehicle belonging to the said company and properly authorized under license by the government de jure of His Majesty in right of Canada. Any past form of privatization or private management is immediately revoked without any recourse for any form of business, group, or private corporation. Any claim for loss of any form of individual or organization will be treated as an abuse of public property as well as other common law crime. Offender will be immediately placed under arrest, sentenced, and punished as such. Immigration to Canada will be immediately placed under a full moratorium for a period of 20 years from the date of this Royal Proclamation, henceforth limited to certain group of refugee as well as to the reunification of family already accepted as landed and naturalized immigrant. Immigration is not a provincial or territorial prerogative. Any form of organization other than under the federal government de jure of His Majesty, having had in the past some say in the matter, is immediately abolished. All prerogative revoked without recourse. Any law contravening under His Majesty federal de jure government, these laws are also abolished and revoked. Everything related to immigration in Canada is strictly a federal prerogative by nature. Any related program will be supported by the federal government in its entirety. Any contradictory claim of any nature whatsoever regarding this measure has no validity. The offender will be immediately investigated and treated as suspect of abuse of power, with the possibility of arrest, conviction, possibly punished for common law crimes. Any form or action of climate modification is an unnatural action by definition and is now prohibited by any individual, organization, or company. Any possible permit to do so is revoked. Any conspiracy with the aim, admitted or covertly, of climate modification will be treated as climate modification. Any group or individual claim for any loss of any kind in the matter will be ignored, except in order to place the said individual or group under arrest, immediately found guilty of a crime against humanity, thus that of crime of conspiracy against life, and will be published as such. Any member or person elected in the past in the de facto government is immediately removed from its function, legal or not, in the government of His Majesty, without right or pension or claim or of any form whatsoever against Canada, its provinces, or territory on the account of illegality, illegitimacy, and unconstitutionality. Any pension or other benefits of any kind received in the context of an election is immediately abolished without recourse. This does not apply to the unelected government worker or employees. Also, any form of protection or immunity is revoked. Any claim for loss of individual or group will be treated as an abuse of public property. Claimant will be immediately arrested and found guilty of breach of public order, abuse of public property, as well as fraud with aggravating circumstances, as well as the political party of all denomination or qualification are dissolved, and henceforth prohibited. Their license are revoked immediately. Those who participate in an election of any level stands as independent, representing only the public interest of the people of Canada under full responsibility, with the aim of the public good, good government, and peace. Any claim for loss of individual or group will be treated as an abuse of public good. Claimant will be immediately arrested and convicted of public order offense, as well as fraud with aggravating circumstance, as well as the post of Prime Minister or Premier. is immediately abolished. Both federal and provincial, this post does not represent that of the head of Canada or head of one or the other of a province of Canada, has no specific function and no legal, legitimate, and constitutional framework. Any complaint concerning the current measure is not valid, will be ignored, the offender immediately placed under arrest and found guilty of treason will be punished as such. Public election, according to the British North America Act, or Constitution of Canada of 1867, must be held in order to establish His Majesty de jure government as soon as possible. In the meantime, the people of Canada will be permitted to present in the form of direct nomination candidate for the normally elected position of His Majesty's government. That if no competition in free election arise or if any obstacle present itself in order to have occupants for the position normally elected, such, but not limited, that too high of a cost. The said candidate will have to aim to obtain a valid mandate by simple signature of the majority of the resident official voter having main residence of the constituency for which they are mandated. These candidates will be recognized as forming the de jure government of His Majesty with a mandate of limited power to ensure the stability of Canada, to ensure the application of the Constitution of Canada, as well as and especially to supervise a traditional election subject to the preceding paragraph related to election or government, as well as according to the Constitution of Canada. A mandate granted according to the above will be limited to a single non-renewable mandate, limited by what is indicated in the Constitution of Canada, and for a maximum of 5 years. Excluded, without recourse or possible complaint of any kind from this measure, any person, individual, or member of a group having been ousted from an elected post which he would have occupied in the past, as well as any lawyer, active or retired, of any kind. Representatives sent abroad under any title or for any function whatsoever who are not or have not been appointed to official position by the Department of Foreign Affairs are immediately removed from all representative function for Canada. All decision or other agreement made by one or the other former agent of this position have in reality no legal, legitimate, or constitutional value, will immediately have to be subject to review by the legally elected de jure government, see below, of His Majesty, in order to preserve as well as possible the external relation between Canada and the other parties involved. Party outside of these agreement must also be informed of this. Any claim by either former agent is void and will therefore be ignored in its entirety. Any claimant present in Canada or either of its embassy will be immediately arrested, convicted of treason, and punished as such, including any request for repatriation at the expense of Canada to the national territory of Canada. International organization of which Canada is a member and which have no basis of law valid in Canada, from which they bring no real benefits to the people of Canada, are expelled from Canada. Such organization, but not limited to the United Nations, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the World Bank, the Court of International Settlement, the G7 to G20 group, or any other similar supranational body. Canada revokes all participation in, but not limited to, these same organization. None of the regulation or other form of text originating from the said supranational body have a valid legal basis in Canada. These said texts are revoked in their entirety and in any aspect in Canada. None of the said body has real power in Canada or over Canada's territory. Any claim presented under one or the other of their respective regulation will be ignored in their entirety. The non-legal signature of the de facto government has no legal, legitimate, or constitutional validity recognized under the de jure government of His Majesty and right of Canada. Each and every representative of the said organization will be expelled from the territory of Canada at their own expense, without any recourse or any subsequent right of return for any reason whatsoever, prohibited forever to be in the territory again. Any war or act of war or other act of this kind is immoral. Canada declared, therefore, demands universal peace toward anyone without distinction for any present or past situation in which Canada is legally implicated or not. Canada, on behalf of the people of Canada, apologizes to any victim of such act, of which Canada has been a part of. These acts were declare or carry out in an illegal, illegitimate, and unconstitutional framework in the name of the people of Canada have no validity in themselves. Any damage caused, such as well as any claim resulting from such act, will be addressed to those who committed them under their full and entire responsibility. Under no circumstance will the government de jure of His Majesty of Canada assume any responsibility whatsoever in this regard, apart from the arrest of any war criminal who has found refuge in Canada, to hand them over to any court of common law which requested them in due form to the government of His Majesty, as well as for any accomplices, individual or corporate body found facilitating the escape of justice for such criminals. His Majesty's government, on behalf of the people of Canada, reserve the right, as well as the duty by any means, of physical defense in the preservation of the territory of Canada in the event of aggression subsequent to this declaration. Any judge or magistrate appointed in the past or by the de facto government is immediately removed from office in His Majesty's government, without pension right or claim of any form whatsoever against the government of Canada, its provinces, or territory, on ground of illegality, illegitimacy, and unconstitutionality. Any pension or other benefits of any kind received within the framework of such a function is immediately abolished without possible recourse. This does not apply to worker or non-magistrate state employee in the various courts of Canada, its province or territory. Also, any form of protection or immunity is revoked, which also includes any discretionary power. All the cause currently in proceeding will be suspended, to be subsequently resumed from the beginning by the Court of Common Law de jure. New appointment will be made according to the rule of common law, in accordance with the Constitution of Canada, at the discretion of the federal or provincial Justice Department, in a legal, legitimate, or constitutional manner, in the name of His Majesty, Chief of Canada de jure. It is perfectly possible that judge or magistrate whose de facto post have been previously revoked be again chosen as magistrate or judge de jure, subject to this paragraph, as well as the free insurance of the candidate for the oath of allegiance in favor of His Majesty in right of Canada de jure, as well as the candidate free from any conviction in criminal matter and from the absence of any claim on his part. It is therefore conceivable that there will be an indefinite temporary suspension of proceeding, the time for the implementation of this order and the legal restoration of the judicial system. Any claim for loss of individual or group will be treated as an abuse of public good. Claimant will be immediately arrested and convicted of public order offense, as well as fraud with aggravating circumstances. De facto judgment issued by an illegal body have no legal validity, which creates a very big, very serious legal problem. Despite this fact, it is inconceivable, impossible to invalidate all these procedures, thus forcing the revision of all judgment. Any civil judgment of any kind not contested by either party will remain valid and will be automatically ratified without any procedure under the general legal, legitimate, and constitutional law regime. Any judgment in civil law or in criminal matter of any nature not contested by either party will remain valid and will be automatically ratified without any procedure under the general legal, legitimate, and constitutional law regime. Only those cases which have been the subject of appeal and which will have been ignored or rejected from hearing in civil matter will be heard, common law or criminal matter not being included, which will again be submitted to an appeal in good and due form. subject to 10-year maximum preceding the date of the current Royal Proclamation since the issuance of the initial judgment. Civil proceeding, not having as their object a claim against the state of any kind, may continue to be heard before a single judge, resulting from an appointment under the government of His Majesty in right of Canada. However, any claim, any lawsuits against or having the state as a party must necessarily occur before a petty jury of peer, both in civil and criminal manner, except for any conviction or sentence in common law or criminal matter for which a sentence is currently being executed, issued in an irregular manner, will be subject to mass examination according to the criteria relating to this Royal Proclamation. Any penalty of reparation, not involving deprivation of liberty, remains valid, recognized under the current Royal Proclamation without recourse for the offender, except in the case where the said penalty is a monetary fine, subject to the current one, in the appropriate paragraph. The penalties implying a monetary reparation to any proven victim and not involving the government of His Majesty remains valid, without recourse. Any conviction or sentence, subject to the current one, involving deprivation of liberty will be reviewed by a body charged with doing so at the discretion of the Department of Justice of Canada only. For all charge or indictment not involving or not covering homicidal action, crime against the person, all the sentence pronounced for any non-homicidal act are commuted to restorative work of public interest, of which it will be necessary to make a latter description at a ratio of 10% of the day remaining to the said sentence of deprivation of liberty. Anyone who benefits from the actual measure, who is found guilty again after the application of the above, will serve its first sentence or conviction in full, added with the new consequences of its act, regardless if the conviction is for a similar crime or any other. Any bar of lawyer, association of lawyer, law firm, or group of the same nature existing are immediately dissolved, their license being revoked without possible recourse. The profession of lawyer is maintained in a commercial law only, independently and under their full and complete responsibility of each lawyer individually and subject to this Royal Proclamation. Also, any form of protection or immunity is revoked, except the secrecy of customer files. Any claim for loss or individual or group will be treated as an abuse of the public good. Claimant will be immediately arrested and convicted as of public order offense, as well as fraud with aggravating circumstance, as well as a common law bar will be established as soon as possible in each province of Canada for a total number of 10 to supervise the legal profession, with a steering committee as described below. The so-called bar, as described in the Constitution of Canada, also including as under common and customary law, as well as a common law bar, will be established to supervise the legal profession with a steering committee as described below at the federal level, in total number of 1, superior to the provincial bar, in order to render uniform law in Canada, as well also supervise the respective provincial bar. The bar committee of each province or federal supervising the profession will be comprised of 10 members, of which 5 members must be from the profession of lawyers and 5 members from the people, non-lawyer, who will be drawn at random. Volunteer from the people or lawyer will be changed every 2 years for all the positions of the said committee, with non-renewable, non-consecutive mandate. Any decision of this committee must be unanimous, without exception, to be approved and valid. Some detail will need to be discussed and put in place in addition to this decision. The measure thus described will be implemented immediately after those contained in the previous paragraph, as well as the profession of Crown Attorney is maintained subject to the Constitution of Canada, as well as under conditions cited in the previous paragraph, including full individual responsibility, as well as the possible establishment of formal charge, indictment, for all proceeding in the name of the Crown, before a common law court composed of a jury of peer, having right and duty to judge any offence. In addition, any Crown attorney must take an oath of allegiance according to the appropriate article contained in the Constitution of Canada, as well as any trial before a jury made up of the people of Canada has a duty and right to nullify law or all form of regulation contravening good government, peace, public order, common law, or the Constitution of Canada. Any trial in common law must be held before a petty or grand jury of peer with an unanimous decision for petty jury or majority for the grand jury decision, with the exception of summary proceeding in the one and only case of free and voluntary confession on the part of an accused formally in common law. The assistance, in the event of arrest, of a legal advisor by a lawyer of profession in common law under his full and entire individual responsibility remains. The charge of representing during a hearing is up to the accused in person. Representation by mandate of a lawyer is henceforth prohibited except in the single case of a previously recognized mental incapacity before trial. Each will ensure his own oral defense as well as his presence in person at all hearing held within the framework of a common law trial, remains free of assistance regards to the procedure or maintenance of files. All police forces are required to respect the law on the maintenance of peace under any name or description whatsoever. Any police force has no law enforcement mandate and must immediately cease all law enforcement, except in the case of a judgment issued by the Justice of the Peace in the context of a fair and equitable trial, as well as for the execution of arrest warrant, subject to discretion and responsibility for decision in the matter of the Solicitor General of Canada de jure as soon as possible. Any police force mentioned below in the list of criminal organization shall be dissolved without recourse, their member ousted from the profession of police officer forever and without recourse. Any violator of this order will be immediately removed from his duty as peace officer, immediately placed under arrest, found guilty of obstruction of justice, and punished accordingly. Any claim for loss of individual or group will be treated as an abuse of public good. Claimant will be immediately arrested and convicted of public order offense, as well as fraud with aggravating circumstances. The police force concerned by this paragraph for dissolution will be replaced immediately by a new police force according to the provision of this paragraph, but not including any member previously ousted from the profession. Any member, according to the current paragraph, ousted by the profession of police force concerned, not having been personally found guilty of an offense against public order or any nature in common law, may apply and will be automatically accepted for the position of road safety enforcement officer of the Highway Safety Code, as mentioned in the appropriate paragraph above of this Royal Proclamation. Any fine or monetary penalty due to any level of His Majesty government which has not been settled at the time of this proclamation and related to any offense without actual damage or without actual physical victim are immediately abolished and revoked. This also includes any matter relating to income tax. No form of claim for something past shall be dealt with or honored by His Majesty's government, such thing not having been claimed on his behalf or that of the people of Canada. Any law, group of law, ordinance, decision, decree, or any document or declaration, public or private, intending to subjugate or limit the liberty of the freedom of the people of Canada in any form are invalid, illegal, illegitimate, and unconstitutional, are immediately revoked or abolished, with the exception of the content of this proclamation and of the Constitution of Canada, as well as of the legal order of common law court relating to common law crime in matter of homicide or other judgment having noted a proven damage. This paragraph is not applicable to any entity other than an individual human nature, and is therefore not applicable to any corporate form or private interest group. It is the duty of the Government of His Majesty and Right of Canada to issue law governing businesses, company, group dedicated to commerce, or of an artificial nature, but it has no power to limit the people of Canada not having committed a crime of which the author would not have been found guilty under ordinary law after a fair and equitable trial. The deposit bank, including savings, licensed in Canada are immediately separated from commercial investment bank without recourse. Any claim for loss of individual or group will be treated as an abuse of public good and found guilty of crime against humanity and other charges similar to fraud and abuse of public or private property. Deposit bank will immediately and henceforth be required to maintain a ratio of 50% of total deposit before issuing a loan interest-free to individual customer of said banks. This paragraph is subject to the reservation of this Royal Proclamation as a whole. Any bank currently having a valid business license in Canada issued de facto will be required to maintain its deposit activity, will not be permitted to cease its deposit activity intended for the people of Canada by virtue of this measure. In the event that there is any attempt to hinder or threaten to obstruct this Royal Proclamation, the said bank will be immediately nationalized without recourse or claim for any organization of any nature whatsoever. The applicant or officer or owner of said bank will immediately be placed under arrest warrant, found guilty of breach of public order, as well as for fraud with aggravating circumstances, condemned and punished as such, as well as for treason and plot to treason, also for crime in common law against peace and good government. Any form of monetary subsidies in the form of loans with or without interest to the artificial support of private company is immediately abolished. Subject to strategic sector or company that have been illegally privatized when they are legitimately public company. All other form of subsidy shall immediately be reviewed by an advisory committee composed of 10 members. Half composed of qualified employee in economic matter of the Government of His Majesty in Right of Canada de jure, and for the other half of member of the people of Canada drawn at random from volunteer and without particular interest nor qualification in any of the account which will be revised. Said committee will be responsible for verifying the relevance of the said monetary aids for the public good. Custom responsibility, as well as the import tax, rest with the federal government of His Majesty in Right of Canada in its entirety. From now on, a tariff barrier will be added for any commodity imported into Canada up to 100% of the monetary value at the final sale to the consumer for any product which could be manufactured in Canada but for which for commercial reason of profit was not. A tariff barrier will now be added to any luxury product imported into Canada up to 200% of the monetary value at the final sale of the consumer for any product considered luxury and which has in reality no reason in the common good for the people of Canada. This measure excludes any food production that has not undergone any machining, which includes canning. The import tax sum shall be paid into the consolidated fund of Canada for use by Its Majesty the jure government for good government and peace as it see fit to do so within the framework of government. The establishment of respective lists as to basic or luxury good as soon as possible will be the responsibility of the federal government the jure of His Majesty in Right of Canada, to prepare an opinion poll which will be distributed to a significant number of the people of Canada. poll containing at least 1,000 non-food items which will designate the desirable commodity, thus separating the luxury item not necessary for life in general. This measure could be facilitated with the assistance of the provincial, municipal, or territorial levels, thus identifying the specific product needed by regions of Canada. National and Parliament reference are strictly reserved to authorized federal institution or agency of the government of His Majesty in right of Canada. Any public organization having been previously founded in a de facto manner, unauthorized, having one or the other name in its title, is an abuse in itself, prohibited from use, and must immediately get rid of the said title without recourse. This Royal Proclamation constitutes an order of arrest for the offender already found guilty, included in the list below, their accomplices after the fact, collaborator, or those who will facilitate the escape of the above mentioned who will be found guilty. In addition, obstruction of justice. A valid legal warrant in good and due form will be issued and completed at the time of arrest. This constitutes an order of arrest for those who will ignore the legal, legitimate, and constitutional order issued for the first time in the name of the Sovereign of Canada on April 1st of the year of grace 2017. Said order which have not been contested, opposed, or revoked in any way. No violence or threat will be tolerated within the framework of the application of these arrest order. A simple verbal service is preferable, accompanied, or not, by a written warrant. The arrest or detention of individual or group targeted is not recommended by the people. The competent authority in the matter should be contacted as soon as possible for any action of the nature described above. For peace and good government, anyone caught in the act of disobeying this royal order issued in 2017 or Royal Proclamation will be found guilty of committing an offensive act or of war against Canada, which also include anyone caught in the act of revolt, rebellion, sabotage, disobedience, insurrection, disturbance to public order or good government toward the territory of Canada or its possession, against the supreme law or Constitution of 1867, its resource, infrastructure, institution, as well and especially that its population, and will be treated as an enemy of the Kingdom of Canada as well as published as such. Anyone caught in the act of conspiring or will assist group or individual plotting against the present royal order issued in 2017 or Royal Proclamation or against the people of Canada issued for good government and peace will be treated as an enemy of the Kingdom of Canada as well as punished as such. Any mutiny by military or paramilitary force or other armed group of any kind against His Majesty, against the present royal order issued in 2017, against this Royal Proclamation, against any part of the territory or the possession of Canada, or against the people of Canada, issued for good government and peace, or any plot of mutiny, will be severely repressed, the guilty immediately removed from any rank, function, or responsibility, as well as from any benefits without compensation of any kind, placed under arrest, and sentenced to be punished as such. Any form of sabotage by any armed or unarmed interest group of any kind against Its Majesty, against this royal order issued in 2017, against this Royal Proclamation, against either party of the territory or possession of Canada, or against the people of Canada, issued for good government and peace, or any sabotage plot, will be severely repressed, the guilty immediately removed from any rank, function, or responsibility, as well as from any benefits without compensation of any kind, placed under arrest, thus condemned to be punished as such. In conclusion, His Majesty, Head of Canada de jure, or his representative government, is an employee without distinction of rank or function, or public company, as well as any employee or private company, have no power to dictate anything to the people of Canada. except in the sole case of a statement of violation of common law or breach of the peace in accordance with the Supreme Law of Canada, the Constitution of 1867, in order to hold a trial by indictment or summary proceeding before petty jury of peer unanimously, fair and equitable before and after due judgment. This Royal Proclamation is intended to restore legal, legitimate, and constitutional representative government as expeditiously as possible, to be carried out forthwith by whomever is informed of this. The people of Canada are invited to participate actively in peace, order, and collaboration. It is therefore hereby forbidden to use any violence in order to allow a rapid and restorative transition for the people of Canada. The power of arrest and detention remain with the police of Its Majesty, without, however, infringing this right from the people of Canada. It is the duty of the people to inform the offender of the content of the present Royal Proclamation and to draw up the report with a view to appropriate legal proceeding which record the crime in common law and the matter regarding to the findings. This paragraph is not intended to limit or take away the freedom of self-defense to anyone who is physically attacked without provocation, or in the case of a criminal act of a homicidal nature. This Royal Proclamation is in conformity with the Constitution of Canada in its intention, form, and as a whole. Otherwise, shall be corrected by His Majesty in right of Canada in order to comply with it by modifying, removing, or adding article. Only the people of Canada, free from any constraint or commitment, have the power to challenge one or the other of its part. Any challenge in any form by an interest group or corporation or group of this nature, including but not limited to cited offender, such as from lawyer, judge, notary, public or private employee, or police officer, will be ignored, except in order to recognize the obstruction to the peace, to good government, for disturbance of public order, rebellion, revolt, and attempted conspiracy, will be immediately removed from any function in the service of His Majesty's government in the event of a public employee, thus accused in all cases, arrested, found guilty, and punished in consequence of his act. This Royal Proclamation, the Royal Order issued in 2017, as well as the actions of His Majesty in right of Canada, Sovereign of Canada, King of Canada, for the purpose of preserving life, human or other natural life, preserving peace and good government, as well as the preservation of the people of Canada as a priority, as well as the territory of Canada and its resources. As such, His Majesty in right of Canada, His government de jure, public servant, have a duty of reserve, of service, as well as a protection of the public good placed at their disposal in all confidence, in trust, for the good management on behalf of the people of Canada. Any member of the people of Canada may, if they wish, take up this Royal Proclamation, thus ensuring its proper application under their full and entire individual responsibility. Any infringement or conspiracy on the natural person on the Royal Order issued in 2017, or on presenting the Royal Proclamation of His Majesty in right of Canada in its decision, or legal, legitimate, or constitutional action to protect the people of Canada, will be treated as high treason and punished as such by life imprisonment without the possibility of release. Apart from the action, or the possibility, of royal pardon decided by His Majesty in right of Canada de jure at his sole discretion. His Majesty in right of Canada de jure is not, in any case, responsible for the damage or loss whatsoever for criminal action which have taken place in the country by any group while acting in a legal, illegitimate, or unconstitutional manner, nor for the application of decision or action aiming at putting an end to the coup for the legal, legitimate, and constitutional restoration of the Constitution of Canada. No compensation will be recognized by His Majesty or His government de jure when he acts in good faith with a view of righting wrongs. Anyone found guilty of the offense of disturbing public order, good government, or disturbing the peace mentioned above or other, will be sentenced, thus condemned in an appropriate manner, and the execution implemented immediately. The trial having taken place in due form in the year of grace 2017, no attention will be paid to the right of the accused, found guilty by default, as well as to accomplices after the fact. It is therefore hereby ordered to the police to search as well as to detain the offender forthwith, in order to proceed with the complete execution of the sentence already rendered in common law before the people of Canada. By legal, legitimate, and constitutional order of the Solicitor General of Canada, in the name of the Sovereign, Head of Canada, King of Canada de jure Denis I, for the people of Canada, I have acted under the mandate of the Supreme Law of Canada, as well that according to the judgment in good and due form, and I sign on this day of the year of grace 2021. The Sovereign of Canada de jure, King Denis I, the Governor General of Canada de jure, the head of the Unified Royal Guard of Canada de jure, the Solicitor General of Canada de jure, the Lieutenant Governor of Alberta de jure, the Lieutenant Governor of Quebec de jure. Note: this Royal Proclamation is written in usual and common French and is the only valid one. Any translation into English or other language is for informational purpose only and has no precedence over the original version, the scope remaining. The actual Royal Proclamation is one in its total. Its part cannot be separated or subtracted from its total to be used independently. Any ignorance of any part is null and void. Any interaction with any of the person or organization on the following list is at your own risk. So, this is giving me a headache. I'll make a quick conclusion of my own. It is a heavy text, as you I've noticed. There are a lot of measures for the protection of the people, which are invited to take this proclamation and act with it. At this point, the absence of action or even the ignorance is not a defense. It's not a valid defense. Anyone with two working brain cell can come to the conclusion that things are not right. Anyone caught defending the de facto government is wrong per nature. If I could understand this, anyone can, if they're willing to. If they're not willing to understand, well, because they're part of the problem and they will not participate in the solution. It is up to you and now who's going to be watching this not to give me a thumbs down or a stupid comment, but to take action in redressing the wrong that has been done. I am well aware, and I've never thought that the majority would wake up to anything and take part in fixing the problem. They're way too busy about being greedy and stupid and idiots. So it is up to us, the very few who understand the situation, to fix the goddamn problem. And it is now. There's no tomorrow, in 3 weeks, or in 6 months. It is now where you are. There's not going to be a white knight or a superhero or an event of any kind that will fix the problem, and you will not read the memo about, oh, the problem has been fixed, except from this channel. We are the only one throughout the 7 or 8 year past that has provided you with real action, fact-based, and solutions to do something. There are quite a number of people that understand that something's wrong. I will not deny that. Cheers or hats off to them. But they're not doing the right thing. They're hiring a lawyer, they're going before court, they're protesting, which does not change anything. They're not doing the right thing. The right thing to do is to create the real de jure government of Canada. We've been 50 years now, over 50 years into a coup d'etat. We've been over 800 years in common law, and that would all be swept under the rug, and nobody would do anything about it. Well, if you want freedom, you can't have it if it's in someone else's hands. If you listen to lawyer, politician, police officer, or even corporate stupid, oh, I'm only doing my job because I have a corporate order. Well, the corporate order never, ever is above freedom or is above common law. When they try to put that onto you, you say no. Fuck you and your stupid order. I'm not your slave. I am not going to obey you. You don't pay me enough to obey. If you do have a contract signed and you get paid to obey, well, that's okay. You're an employee, you gotta obey. But if you're an employee who's trying to, oh, you have to have a, I don't know, a vaccination to enter these premises. You have to have a face mask. No, no, no. You're not the boss of me. I'm not your fucking slave. Take your stupid order, shove it up your ass, and go back to where you come from, you asshole. So please, if you're hearing this message, you're not the resistance. You're the solution to the fucking problems. And if you ignore this message after staying for nearly 2 hours, well, recording of this part is an hour and a half, but maybe after the edit it'll be 2 hours. Take action. Take this proclamation, print it out, because it'll be available as soon as we humanly can on the SRPC website, and use it. It's up to you. So, I've said often in the past that I would shut my big fucking mouth, but I've had enough of saying the same thing over and over. And I've not respected this idea too well, because I know full well that only fool never change idea. It's not because I want to be famous, that I want glory or fortune. I don't give a fuck about that. I don't give a fuck about thumbs up and thumbs down, and I don't give a fuck about your opinion. These are the facts. And the situation needs to change. By the way, I don't give a fuck about my own opinion. So, take action. If not for you, do it for the children. If not for the children or yourself, just don't do anything, but don't stand in the way. Because if you do, you'll get your ass kicked. Have a nice whatever.